Welcome to this Java tutorial by Johnson Mercy. I hope you enjoy it. What's going on, guys? It's Johnson Mercy and welcome to my 6th Java tutorial on Java database connectivity. In the previous tutorial, we successfully created some methods that would help us insert data into our database and get results from our database and also the connection. So all those are just the housekeeping stuff, and also they want to validate our fields. Is that right? Now it's time to do some things on our main class. That is to call the whole methods we have created. It's now time to use them inside the main class, which is our emp-reg system. Now, but before I go on, there is one good and also it is supposed to be in the utility method, but then I just decided to do it here. A method I'm going to create, and I'll call that public void init. Now, what I'm going to use this method for is anything that has to do with just initialization of some things like, okay, let's take a look at our design view. Now, this date of birth here. Of course, we know that this is a JCalendar object. Yes, it is a JCalendar object. Now, what if we want to gain access to this text field here? How do we do it? We can just, because is now an object of JCalendar, not JText field. Just like first name, other name, I can just say the name of this field dot get text. All right, the variable name of the field dot get text. It gets me whatever it is inside. But then I can say JCalendar object dot get text. No, I must have access to whatsoever that is. I must have access to this field inside here, because together I have the field and the button wrapped in a little panel here. So I need a way to get access just to the field and not the button or the panel. Okay, those are some kind of things that we need to do inside of the init method. And also whenever we launch our application, we expect that by default it should just get the whole PIN, that is the whole employee ID, because the PIN is what we're going to use for the ID. So we expect that the application gets it by default and keep it ready in case we want to access or use it in any way. So that's the kind of thing I expect to do inside the init method. But for now, I will just want to get access to this field, because if I should get the first name value or the name's value, I must get the value here so that I can also insert it inside the database before other things. Otherwise, there will be no date of birth. So that is what I'm going to do. But before I go ahead, I'm going to declare a variable, that is a JText field variable. I'll call this field. All right. Then how can I now get this? I'll say field equal to what's the name of that object? Okay, bob date picker. Okay, bob date picker dot, I think, get components and see get component at the first, yeah, get component. Now what this get component does is to get a component at the index position we give it here. So in this case, I will say the first component, because here if you check, it's not that it looks like, but it is real. The text field here is the first component on the JCalendar object, and the button here is the second component. So I think me getting this is supposed to be filled, but I should explicitly cast it to a JText field, a JText field object, of course, so that whenever I want to use it, I will just use it as a JText field and not as a date JCalendar object. Okay, now the next thing I need to do is to call my init method inside my constructor. Okay, so the next thing I need to do here is to now tell the software what it should do whenever the submit button is clicked. But another thing is up then. Our pin, the pin in the database, we didn't create a space for it here. We said whenever we insert something into the database, it should automatically create a random pin that would never be the same. Of course, it would never be the same, because in the database it is primary key. We created that particular column with a primary key, which means no double value, a pin can't be seen two times in a column. Okay, now how then can we do that? So it calls for going into our utility class to write down a method to help us do that. So I'll call this public, let me call it public string, because I'm expecting to return some things. Call this public static string get ID. Okay. Now I have here private. I think I should do this inside the method. Let me do this inside the method as well. Just have random equals to new random. Okay. Then this is int pin equals to 0 and string main pin equals to empty string. So I'll now populate the pin. It's going to be, let me say, 10-digit number. 10-digit number. Yes, 10-digit number is okay. So I'll say for int I is equal to 0 and I is less than 10 and I increment. So while looping, at each loop generate a random number starting from 1. I'll say random dot next int starting from 1 and stopping at 10. This thing means here, this statement here means generate a number starting from 1, because if I don't do this, it might start from 0, which I don't like. So starting from this means don't ever start from 0. Even if you want to choose any number from 1 to 10, don't just go to 0, right? Just start from 1 to 10. So at each loop, it will generate just a random number within the range of 1 and 10. Okay, If you do that, then you give to my main pin this. So let's say the first time it got 2, then 2 will be given to main pin to hold. Of course, it will never discard it because we say plus equal to. Yeah, plus equal to means do not discard the object, the value you have before. Just keep on concatenating them together, and by the end of the day, we return it. So let's say the first time 2 was produced and it's been given to main pin. The second loop 3, the third one 1, 4, 5, just like that. Then by the end of the day, we return the main pin. So after that, we'll now set main pin equal to this again. Okay, we set the main pin to empty string again to avoid conflicting of things, because this is really a static. Everything found inside the static context is automatically a static variable. So if you are trying to do it over and over again, you should really offload the value it has before to avoid adding them together or making the string to grow more than let me say 10 values or some things. It might really confuse things. So you better set this to null before going on the second loop. Okay, so lastly we return main pin, and that's all. So I'll end this tutorial here. So in the next tutorial I'll go into the submit button. So thank you very much, and thanks for watching. I'm Johnson Mercy. See you